Ford just made a decision that could change the car buying experience forever.
I think the most important thing is going to be the platform. Now, this has kind of been an epiphany for me because I first thought, as a consumer guy, I thought, well, you know, if we just find the right set of...
Imagine a world where every Ford dealership shuts down. Sounds impossible, right? Well, it's happening, and the ripple effects could shake the entire auto industry. Why is Ford doing this? What does it mean for car buyers and loyal Ford fans? And is this the end of the dealership as we know it? Stay tuned, because this shocking move has everyone talking. The collapse of Ford dealerships, a brewing crisis. Ford Motor Company, a name that has defined the American automobile industry for over a century, is on the brink of a dramatic downfall. With declining sales, abandoned dealerships, and a trust deficit within its ranks, the company faces challenges that could change the face of its operations forever. But what has brought the legendary automaker to this point? Let's dig into the unraveling story of Ford's failing dealership network. For Ford, 2024 has been nothing short of catastrophic. Over the first 7 months, the company recorded a jaw-dropping 23% decline in vehicle sales. That's more than 19,000 cars fewer than the same period in 2023, a number that underscores just how rapidly Ford's market position is crumbling. Here's the shocking part. Ford's competitors aren't just surviving, they're thriving. The overall new car market has seen a healthy 5.5% increase in sales this year. Brands like Chevrolet, GMC, and even Hyundai have stepped in to fill the void, offering vehicles that better match evolving consumer preferences for reliability, affordability, and sustainability. But what about Ford's trucks, the bread and butter of its lineup? Even the legendary F-150, once America's favorite truck, isn't immune to the downturn. Dealership lots are filling up with unsold inventory, and customers who once swore by Ford's reliability are now exploring other options. Some are switching brands entirely, while others are holding off on buying altogether, citing concerns over quality and high pricing. This loss of consumer confidence isn't just a passing phase. It's a red flag for a company that has long relied on brand loyalty to maintain its dominance. Dealerships in crisis, a network on the verge. The fallout from Ford's sales slump is perhaps most visible in its dealership network. Nationwide, between 10 and 15% of Ford's dealerships are reportedly in financial distress. That's a staggering 300 to 450 locations teetering on the brink of closure. And it's not just about poor sales. Rising operational costs and shrinking profit margins are compounding the problem. Now, let's put this into perspective. For decades, Ford's dealership network has been the backbone of its operations, connecting local communities with the brand and fostering trust through face-to-face interactions. Now, many of these dealers feel abandoned, with Ford focusing its resources on direct-to-consumer (DTC) sales models and its electric vehicle (EV) transition. Dealerships are left to fend for themselves. And then there's the issue of trust, or lack thereof. A recent survey revealed that nearly half of Ford dealers don't believe the company has their best interests at heart. Many are frustrated by what they see as an aggressive push toward EVs without proper support or planning. The high cost of installing EV infrastructure, combined with the uncertainty of consumer demand, are leaving dealerships in financial limbo. The future looks bleak. Industry analysts predict that if these challenges persist, as many as 300 dealerships could shut their doors within the next 2 years. This wouldn't just be a blow to Ford's sales network, it would be a devastating hit to its brand image and its long-standing relationships with loyal customers. Overpriced and unreliable, the consumer backlash. While Ford's dealerships struggle, the company's pricing strategy has become a lightning rod for criticism. As of 2023, the average transaction price for a Ford vehicle had skyrocketed to nearly $48,000, $3,000 higher than the industry average. For many consumers, this price tag simply isn't justified, especially given the quality concerns plaguing Ford's lineup. In 2023 alone, the company issued over 20 major recalls, impacting hundreds of thousands of vehicles. These recalls weren't for minor issues. They included serious problems like engine failures and safety defects that could put drivers at risk. Such frequent recalls have left customers questioning whether Ford's vehicles are worth their premium price. And it's not just about reliability. Ford's approach to vehicle technology has also come under fire. The company has invested heavily in advanced infotainment systems and driver assistance features, but many consumers find these systems overly complex and frustrating to use. A recent survey found that 42% of buyers felt overwhelmed by the technology in Ford's vehicles. Then there's the issue of range anxiety, a major concern for potential EV buyers. Despite a growing network of charging stations in the US, 70% of consumers expressed concerns about finding charging points during long trips. For Ford, which is betting heavily on its EV lineup, this is a significant obstacle that could deter buyers from making the switch. The electric gamble, Ford's risky transition. As the world pivots to a greener, more sustainable future, Ford's ambitious bet on electric vehicles, EVs, was meant to be a turning point in its storied history. Instead, it's turning into a nightmare. A cocktail of massive financial losses, dwindling consumer confidence, and fierce market competition has left the automaker at a dangerous crossroads. Will Ford emerge from this storm, or is it unwittingly hastening its own collapse? Ford's EV division, known as Model E, was meant to lead the brand into the future. Instead, it's bleeding money at a staggering rate. In 2023, Model E reported losses of an astonishing $4.7 billion, an amount that would make even the most daring investors wince. But the situation only worsened as 2024 began. By the first quarter of 2024, Model E had already racked up an additional $1.3 billion in losses. To put that into perspective, for every electric vehicle Ford sold during this period, the company lost an average of $132,000. Think about that for a moment. Ford is essentially paying customers to drive away in their EVs. These figures aren't just unsustainable, they're catastrophic. The root cause of this financial implosion, a brutal price war in the EV market. Major players like Tesla and BYD have aggressively slashed prices to attract buyers. Tesla's recent price cuts across its entire lineup sent shockwaves through the industry, forcing competitors like Ford to follow suit. Ford responded by cutting up to $8,000 off its Mustang Mach-E models, a move that brought some short-term sales relief but deepened its financial woes. High production costs compound the problem. EV batteries alone account for 40 to 45% of a vehicle's total cost. With ongoing supply chain challenges, material shortages, and rising labor costs, Ford finds itself stuck in a vicious cycle. Slashing prices to compete means losing money, but maintaining current prices risks losing buyers to cheaper alternatives. And there's another elephant in the room, Ford's revenue from its traditional gas-powered vehicles. Trucks like the F-150 have historically been cash cows, funding the company's other ventures. But as sales of these vehicles decline and the company shifts focus to EVs, Ford is losing a critical financial safety net. Consumer concerns, the EV hesitation. Even as governments push for cleaner energy and automakers race to electrify their fleets, the average consumer remains hesitant about switching to EVs. Ford's EVs, instead of quelling these fears, are exacerbating them. Range anxiety, the fear of running out of power with no charging station nearby, remains a top concern. Despite the US expanding its network of public charging stations, a whopping 70% of potential EV buyers still worry about the availability of chargers during long trips. And let's be honest, Ford hasn't done enough to address this. Ford's EV lineup has also faced criticism for quality issues. The F-150 Lightning, hailed as a game changer when it launched, has struggled to meet consumer expectations. Reports of charging reliability problems, software glitches, and subpar battery range have left many buyers frustrated. One dealer openly admitted that they struggle to sell the Lightning, even with its sleek design and competitive pricing, because customers don't trust its reliability. And then there's the issue of affordability, or the lack thereof. Despite price cuts, Ford's EVs remain more expensive than many of their competitors. The Mustang Mach-E, for instance, starts at $40,000, while the Chevy Bolt EV, a direct competitor, starts at just $26,500. Even Tesla, often perceived as a luxury brand, has managed to undercut Ford on pricing with its aggressively discounted Model 3. What's driving these higher prices? Ford's production costs are significantly higher than those of its competitors, partly because of its late entry into the EV game. Companies like Tesla and BYD, which have been investing in EV technology for years, enjoy economies of scale and more efficient supply chains. Ford, on the other hand, is playing catch-up, and it's costing them dearly. The competitive onslaught. Ford's struggles are compounded by the relentless pressure from competitors who are thriving in this increasingly crowded market. Tesla continues to dominate thanks to its extensive charging network, brand loyalty, and innovative designs. When Tesla slashed its prices earlier this year, it wasn't just a marketing ploy, it was a declaration of war on rivals like Ford. And then there's the rise of Chinese automakers. Brands like BYD, NIO, and XPeng have been making waves with their affordable, feature-rich EVs. BYD, for example, now offers models priced as low as $35,000, undercutting nearly every major player in the market. These companies aren't just targeting their domestic markets, they're expanding aggressively into Europe and North America, further crowding an already competitive landscape. Legacy automakers like General Motors, GM, and Hyundai are also stepping up their EV game. GM's Ultium battery platform has given it a significant edge, allowing the company to produce a wide range of EVs at competitive prices. Hyundai, meanwhile, has earned critical acclaim for its Ioniq 5 and 6 models, which combine sleek designs, cutting-edge technology, and reasonable price points. Ford's response to this competitive onslaught has been inconsistent at best. While the company has made bold moves, such as investing heavily in its EV division and slashing prices on key models, these efforts often feel reactionary rather than strategic. The result? Ford is struggling to carve out a clear identity in the EV market, leaving consumers confused and competitors unthreatened. One of Ford's more controversial strategies has been its focus on hybrid vehicles. While hybrids offer a bridge between traditional gas-powered cars and fully electric models, critics argue that they represent a half measure in a market increasingly dominated by zero-emission vehicles. While brands like Tesla and Hyundai are doubling down on pure EVs, Ford risks being seen as out of touch by continuing to invest in hybrids. At the same time, Ford's attempt to balance its EV ambitions with its legacy lineup is proving to be a massive challenge. The company recently announced plans to introduce hybrid versions of every model in its lineup by the end of the decade. While this may help ease the transition for consumers who aren't ready to go fully electric, it also risks alienating eco-conscious buyers who want automakers to commit fully to sustainability. What lies ahead for Ford? Ford's ambitious push into the EV market was supposed to secure its future, but so far it's proving to be a high-stakes gamble with no guaranteed payoff. With billions of dollars in losses, hesitant consumers, and a relentless wave of competition, the automaker faces an uphill battle. The company's leadership insists that it's committed to turning things around, but the challenges are mounting. From addressing range anxiety and quality concerns to competing with more agile rivals, Ford has a long road ahead, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Ford's EV strategy ultimately pay off, or will it become a cautionary tale of how not to navigate the transition to electric? The coming months will be critical in determining whether Ford can reclaim its position as a leader in the automotive industry, or whether it will be left behind in the race to electrify the future. Ford's broken relationships. Ford Motor Company is not just battling financial losses and consumer hesitance, it's also facing a rift within its core network, its dealerships. For over a century, these dealerships have served as the lifeblood of Ford's operations, connecting communities with its vehicles and building brand loyalty. Now they stand at a crossroads, caught between a struggling automaker and an uncertain future. The once solid foundation is crumbling, and the fallout could be catastrophic. Ford's dealerships have long been a key driver of its success, serving as the trusted bridge between the company and its customers. But that bridge is now teetering. A significant percentage of Ford dealerships, estimated at 10 to 15%, are in dire financial straits. This translates to between 300 and 450 dealerships at risk of closure. Why is this happening? Rising operational costs, dwindling sales, and Ford's aggressive push toward electric vehicles have put immense pressure on dealerships. Many owners feel abandoned by Ford, particularly when it comes to the company's EV transition. The costs of adapting to this shift are astronomical. Ford has required dealerships to invest heavily in EV infrastructure, including the installation of charging stations and new service equipment. For many smaller dealerships, these costs are simply untenable. Some have reported spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to comply with Ford's requirements, only to see minimal consumer interest in the EV models they're now equipped to sell. Adding fuel to the fire is a growing sense of distrust. A recent survey revealed that nearly half of Ford dealers lack faith in the company's future profitability. This mistrust stems from Ford's inconsistent messaging, financial struggles, and perceived neglect of its dealership network. The F-150 Lightning dilemma. Nothing illustrates the disconnect between Ford and its dealerships quite like the F-150 Lightning. When Ford unveiled this electric version of its iconic truck, expectations were sky high. It was supposed to be the vehicle that proved EVs could be practical, powerful, and accessible. Instead, it has become a symbol of the company's struggles. Dealerships are finding it increasingly difficult to sell the Lightning. Customers, particularly in rural and suburban areas, are skeptical about its practicality. Concerns about charging infrastructure, battery life, and towing capacity have deterred buyers. One dealer lamented, "We thought the Lightning would be a game changer, but it's been a tough sell. Even with all the hype, customers just aren't biting. They're worried about range, reliability, and whether EVs are really the future." Ford's response? Cut production. In 2024, the company announced reductions in production shifts for the Lightning, a move that underscores just how deep the demand problem runs. This decision has left dealerships stuck with unsold inventory, further straining their already tight finances. To make matters worse, Ford's direct-to-consumer (DTC) ambitions are causing additional friction. By shifting to a DTC model for EV sales, Ford is effectively sidelining dealerships, reducing their role in the sales process, and cutting into their profits. The fallout of the direct-to-consumer model. Ford's pivot to a direct-to-consumer approach is arguably its most controversial move yet. The strategy aims to streamline the sales process, improve pricing control, and enhance the customer experience. On paper, it sounds like a win-win, but in reality, it's creating a massive rift between Ford and its dealers. Dealerships have historically been the face of Ford, handling everything from sales and financing to repairs and customer service. Now, many fear they're being phased out. Under the DTC model, customers can browse, customize, and even purchase vehicles online, bypassing traditional dealerships altogether. While this approach may appeal to tech-savvy buyers, it's a direct threat to dealerships' revenue streams. Without the ability to negotiate prices or manage inventory, dealerships are left with limited control over their businesses. Adding to the tension is Ford's new EV certification program, which requires dealerships to meet strict standards to sell and service electric vehicles. This includes costly upgrades to infrastructure, training programs, and service capabilities. For smaller dealerships, these requirements are a financial burden they can't afford. One dealer expressed frustration, saying, "We've invested so much into building a relationship with our community, and now it feels like Ford is cutting us out. We're being forced to adapt to a model that doesn't align with our strengths or the needs of our customers." This shift has led to widespread discontent among dealers. Many are questioning whether it's worth continuing their partnership with Ford, especially given the growing challenges of selling EVs. The fear is palpable. If dealerships are pushed out of the equation, Ford risks losing one of its most valuable assets, the trust and loyalty of its dealer network. The bigger picture. The friction between Ford and its dealerships is a microcosm of the broader challenges facing the automotive industry. As manufacturers pivot to EVs and embrace digital transformation, traditional dealership models are being disrupted, but for Ford, the stakes are particularly high. The company's success has always been rooted in its connection to everyday Americans. By sidelining dealerships, Ford risks alienating not just its dealers, but also the customers who rely on them. This isn't just a business decision, it's a cultural shift that could have long-term consequences for the brand. What's clear is that Ford's relationship with its dealerships is at a breaking point. If the company fails to address these issues, it could lose a critical part of its infrastructure and its identity. The battle for consumer trust. As Ford shifts its focus to direct-to-consumer, DTC sales, and electric vehicles, EVs, one critical piece of the puzzle remains unresolved, regaining consumer trust. For decades, Ford's reputation was built on reliability, affordability, and accessibility, but today, the company finds itself fighting a perception problem. Poor quality control, complex technology, and a perceived disconnect from customer needs have driven a wedge between the brand and its buyers. Can Ford repair its tarnished image, or is it too late to win back disillusioned consumers? Ford's quality issues are no secret, and they've been a major sticking point for customers. In 2023 alone, the company issued over 20 major recalls, affecting hundreds of thousands of vehicles. These weren't minor inconveniences. They were serious problems like engine failures and safety hazards that put drivers and passengers at risk. Recalls erode consumer confidence, and the data backs this up. Ford's customer satisfaction score in 2024 was a mere 77 out of 100, lagging behind competitors like Toyota and Honda, which consistently score above 80. Compounding this issue is the perception that Ford vehicles are overpriced for the quality they deliver, with an average transaction price of $48,000 in 2023, $3,000 higher than the industry average. Consumers are asking tough questions. Why pay a premium for a car that might end up in the shop more often than on the road? This dissatisfaction isn't confined to traditional gas-powered models. Even Ford's EVs, like the Mustang Mach-E and F-150 Lightning, have faced criticism for quality issues. Reports of software glitches, charging problems, and battery reliability concerns have left many buyers questioning whether Ford's EVs are worth the investment. The technology trap. Ford's push to modernize its vehicles with advanced technology has also been a double-edged sword. While features like infotainment systems and driver assistance tools are now standard in the industry, Ford's execution has left much to be desired. A recent survey found that 42% of Ford owners felt overwhelmed by the technology in their vehicles. Complaints range from confusing interfaces to unreliable connectivity, with some drivers saying they avoid using the features altogether. This technological overreach has alienated a segment of buyers who just want straightforward, intuitive vehicles. For many, Ford's tech feels like a gimmick rather than a genuine value add. Ford's EVs have also struggled with a unique set of challenges. Range anxiety remains a major deterrent for potential buyers, with 70% of consumers expressing concerns about finding charging stations during long trips. While Ford has partnered with charging network providers to address this issue, progress has been slow, and consumers remain wary. What's particularly troubling is that Ford's competitors seem to be navigating these challenges more effectively. Tesla's charging network is far more extensive, while brands like Hyundai and Kia have been praised for their user-friendly EV technology. In this race, Ford appears to be lagging behind. The path forward: can Ford rebuild? The challenges facing Ford are daunting, but they're not insurmountable. The company has a history of overcoming adversity, and there's reason to believe it can do so again if it takes the right steps. First, Ford needs to address its quality issues head-on. This means investing in better manufacturing processes, stricter quality control measures, and more rigorous testing before vehicles hit the market. Recalls and defects aren't just costly, they're reputation killers, and Ford can't afford more bad press. Second, the company must simplify its approach to technology. Instead of cramming vehicles with features that overwhelm buyers, Ford should focus on creating intuitive, user-friendly systems that enhance the driving experience. This includes improving connectivity, refining interfaces, and ensuring that tech works seamlessly out of the box. Third, Ford needs to tackle the issue of pricing. To compete in the crowded EV market, it must offer models that deliver real value without breaking the bank. This could mean rethinking its supply chain to reduce costs or introducing more budget-friendly options to attract price-sensitive buyers. Finally, Ford must rebuild trust with its dealerships and customers. For dealers, this means reevaluating the DTC model and finding ways to keep them engaged and profitable. For customers, it means demonstrating a genuine commitment to their needs, whether that's through better service, more reliable vehicles, or transparent communication. Ford is at a pivotal moment in its history. The decisions it makes now will determine whether it thrives in the future or becomes a cautionary tale of what happens when a giant fails to adapt. With its dealership network under strain, its financials in turmoil, and its EV strategy under fire, the road ahead won't be easy. But Ford isn't just any automaker. It's a company that has survived wars, recessions, and technological revolutions. The question is, does Ford still have the grit and innovation to rise to the occasion? What do you think? Is Ford's current strategy the right one, or does it need to make a radical shift to save itself? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on the latest twists and turns in this gripping story. See you in the next video.